Good afternoon. Happy Savage Saturday. Keepers of the Cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy, here today and thanking you for stopping by and watching this video. I really appreciate everyone that takes the time to watch my Savage Saturday comic reviews. They are a labor of love. I love doing them. I love rereading the books. Today we're going to go over a story that I read just a couple months ago, but I read it again because it's a lot of fun. So we're going to get right into it, and I'll put some images over there as we're going through to give you guys a better look at what we're talking about. But a classic cover here, this one by Joe Jusko, and I'm going to put it over here, but we'll still show it. And this was actually the tame version. There's a version of this without the skirt, and that's a little more risque, but that got stamped out. They couldn't have it on the cover, so they had to add the skirt in afterward, and a little less embellishments. It's a hard picture to find. I've seen it only a few times. I know I got it in my Conan archives somewhere. No idea where it is. So, but without further ado, we're going to get to the story that we're talking about this week. And we are talking about The Waiting Doom. All right. And written by Chuck Dixon, art by Gary Coppice, and inks by Ernie Chan. Again, Ernie Chan is one of my all-time favorites. Anything he does, I absolutely love. And if he inks a job, he may as well draw it because it looks like Ernie Chan art. Ernie is just, it was an overpowering presence when he was inking or drawing. And just the feel that he gives to a project was always just hit me perfectly well. All right, but our story starts out with Conan on the run, and he's in the snow. He's trying to escape some guys that are after him, and him and his horse take a tumble down this steep hill and just end up flat down. Conan's horse is dead, and Conan is rising up to meet a few guys that are chasing him on the downslope to slaughter him. Conan kicks one guy under an alcove that has some icicles hanging from it, and that guy is impaled and murdered there by Conan. The other guy comes at Conan with a spear, and Conan artfully dodges him and uses part of the bridle to wrap it around the guy's neck and strangle him out. And he's taking care of those two pursuers. And even though I'll be showing stuff over here, I have to hold it up because it's what I do. So right now, we already got a jackrabbit start. Conan on the run, surviving an attack by two guys, two bandits. You don't know why they're chasing him yet. That will be coming. And we got Conan leaving the dead guy in the snow, his neck twisted from Conan breaking it with the bridle. And then we get our title, The Waiting Doom. And it says, to cross the Graskels on foot would be sheer madness for almost any man. But Conan of Samaria is not any man. Raised in the wild Northlands, he is no stranger to killing cold. He is at home in the most hostile of climes. And you just see Conan trekking through. He's now got the spear that the guy had, and he's got a short sword on his belt. And then our next panel changes over to someone on horse that's approaching a small village. They got their head down and they're cloaked, and the rider looks extremely tired, and she can already hear a ruckus going on in the bar that's there. Ooh, I gave it a little bit away by accident. So you might be able to guess who the rider is for my little faux pas. All right, so once we enter this bar, you see lots of drunken revelry going on. Some guys celebrating. One guy is accosting this waitress there, and he's trying to force himself on her, and he's going to force himself on her. The rest of the brigands that are with him aren't doing anything to stop it, and then the door opens, and there's silence for a second. And then you see it's a woman in the door. She says, I shall close the door if you like, but soon the gates of Hades shall yawn wide for you, and I no doubt you'll like the climate there any better. So she's already made her threat, and she identifies herself as Sonya of Hyrcania, or Red Sonny to you and this pack of vermin. It is 2 cycles of the moon I pursued you across these cursed mountains, and at last I have you at sword point. So now we know that Sonya has been searching for these guys. And now you gotta wonder how her and Conan's past are going to connect. So the guy that was about to accost the woman and rape her, she's talking to him, and she's calling him a dog. And she goes, "You left me lurch. When you ran off with the children, we were left to guard. When you demanded ransom, the war chief, Mustafa, had no one to vent his rage on but myself, and I barely fled with my life." And he doesn't really care. She's demanding where the children are. He's told that he's already sold the children twice. And this is starting to enrage Sonya. He says, "We sold the brass to a Berthunian slaver after we collected our ransom. We sold them twice." Ha. So he got the ransom for the kids, still took off with them, and then sold them to somebody else. Guy's trying to sneak up behind Sonya, and she slices his throat. And that's when the rest start attacking. And you see a shadowed figure drinking in the back. You can tell it's Conan by the cut of his hair and his silhouette. He's not rising up to help her. Sonya does not need help until he sees someone approaching from behind her to brain her. And Conan does not like an unfair fight. He grabs the dude's arm. You know, it's the innkeeper. He goes, "What were you about to do?" And the innkeeper goes, "Oh, well, I only wish to, what business is this of yours?" And Conan's like, "None. I only wish to keep the fight honest." And then Conan throws him into his own wine barrels and puts him out. Sonya finishes up with the guys back there. And the one guy that was going to rape the girl, he's about as rude, uncouth, and savage as an underhanded person you would want to meet. He yells at her, "I'll kill you, you slut." And she goes, "That will not be so easy," with a hand missing. And she lops off his right hand. And he's on the ground. And all of a sudden his whole demeanor's changed. He's like, "Please, please spare me. I meant you no ill." Although he was just trying to kill her and calling her a slut and being a generally grotesque dude. And she asks him with sword pointed at his throat, "Where are they?" He goes, "We sold them to an iron miner along the Misty River near the Berthunian border." He goes, "I told you, please spare me. I don't want to die." And she says, "You were dead the moment you crossed me." And she puts the sword through his throat. And she turns around and she goes, "Well, I guess I have you to thank, my friend." And then she realizes who stopped her from getting hit from behind. She's like, "Conan." He's like, "Hey, Sonya, I could walk to the edge of the world and probably find you there, because their paths always seem to cross." And she's like, "I'm surprised that you didn't wish to see me dead, as dead as the others, Sumerian." And he goes, "It's true that our comradeship has been on a stormy nature, but I did not like the odds against you." And Conan's bleeding from his leg, from the wound, from the fight. And she notices it. She's like, "You're grievously wounded." And she goes, "You look to be with fever." Conan's trying to brush off. He's like, "Worry not, it is only a scratch." And he passes out from the fever in his wound. So it's been a pretty rolling story so far. One battle to the next. And then the next scene, Conan's soaking in this hot bath, like a big outdoor bath, and he sees Sonya coming in. He wakes up. He's like, "Where am I? Have I died and gone to the fiery pits of Arola?" Arola is hell in Hyboria, in Conan's age, Hyborian age. And she's like, "You're whining like a baby, Conan." She goes, "I thought the warm waters of this hot spring would be best to cleanse that evil gash in your leg." And she goes, "If that cut becomes inflamed, you'll die of fever, and I don't want that on my conscience." And Conan reaches out and grabs her, gets a little playful, and she's like, "I warned you," and she dunks him under the water. And he's like, "Curse you, woman, do you wish me to drown? Also, you should be grateful. I saved your lovely skin for you." He goes, "That innkeep could have caved in your skull." She goes, "I am grateful, Conan. I'm just not that grateful." And she goes, "If you're strong enough to paw at me like a bear in heat, then you are well enough to go back inside." And so they both retire inside. And just a lot of fun interplay between Conan and Red Sonja. He always wants her. She's always out of reach. And but he still has a respect for her. And she's asking him why he's in the mountains. And he says, "I've never been a storyteller. Suffice it to say that I am in the Northlands in search of my fortune." A mage has offered me a sizable prize in return for my finding of an idol that resides in a forgotten city deep in these mountains. And the innkeep that he knocked unconscious before is there with a bandage on his head, looking a little sore at Conan. And Conan's just ignoring him. He's like, fill up my goblet and don't spill a drop, man. And he's telling her that it's that there's an ancient curse of death on the metal. And she goes, "Oh, how will you find this cursed statue?" He goes, "With this medallion." And he's got a medallion. He shows it to her. And she goes, "If I travel your way, then I wish to ride at your side. I'm still sworn to find those children." And then we go back to where we first saw Conan on those on the hills in the snow, and this band of outlaws have come across the two bodies of their compatriots that Conan slayed. And you can see that they are out for Conan, and they are also out to seize this idol. The one guy thinks it'll give him power to rule and riches. So as they're setting out, they see the trail of blood that Conan left in the snow from his gash, and they are on the trail. Then we got Conan and Red Sonja heading out, and they're seeking for this lost place, which no one has supposedly seen very much, right? It's one of those lost civilizations. And she goes, "Are you certain that you should be riding with that wicked cut in your leg?" He's like, "I've gotten into battle, bearing worse, Sonja. Combing the hills for orphans worrying over my injuries. You are more than a mother, than a warrior." And so the little warrior barbs back and forth. Neither one of them meaning anything. It's just how they get along. Just a lot of ball busting between Red Sonja and Conan. And she's like, "I do not understand how the medallion works." She goes, "I hold it in a certain position to mark the sun as it wanes. At this time of year, the inscription points the way to the valley." And then they see a little farm village, and they figure it's as good a place to rest as any. So once they enter this village, they're met in a friendly manner. They're given food, they're given drink, and the guy that's there tending them tells them the story because they tell them that they're looking for an ancient city. He goes, "I know that place. I've never been there, but two of our villagers were there once, and only one returned. Their tale is as strange as I've ever heard." And so the tale goes, "Many years ago, a woman and a man of our village committed the sin of adultery. Since they were simple farmers and not tolerant of such behavior, the villagers banished the sinners forever. They wandered high into the mountains, beyond even the farthest ranges of our sheep herds. They came upon a strange and alien place, a place forgotten in the memory of man, a place of ancient evil. There the woman gave birth to a child created out of sin, but the child was not healthy." So already something more ominous going on that Conan and Red Sonja are going to have to deal with. And as we turn the page, we find out it was, in fact, not human. The woman's womb was possessed by the evil of the place, and so she gave life to a horror. The man was driven near to madness and tried to kill the foul thing, tortured by the knowledge that it was his loins that supported it. But the woman slew him, and for season after season, the woman and her monstrous son wandered the high mountain ranges. And upon occasion, a trapper or such would find the remains of someone unfortunate enough to have stumbled across a mother and child. And Conan dismisses it. He goes, "Sounds like campfire ghost stories to my ears." And the innkeep's like, "The story is true. The woman returned to the village only last season. She died a most horrible death after telling her tale. A disease was upon her that made her bleed from every portion of her body. Nothing we could do would ease her suffering." And Sonja's like, and that, Sonja is just kind of watching and listening. And she's like, "Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for your story." And Conan tells her, and that's what it was, a story. And she's like, "You don't believe the man?" He's like, "A story to frighten children. These ignorant dirt farmers attach an ancient curse of a hoary demon to any pile of stones they cannot figure out on their own." And she goes, "Yes, but so many of these legends, they have a kernel of truth. They're based on something that happened, even if they're expounded upon afterward." And then we switch to the night where where Sonja's preparing to sleep next to her horse. We'll show you these real quick. And so the story is rolling right along. Sonya's just rolling over. She hears someone approaching. The horse neighs, and she darts up with a sword, and it's just Conan. He's like, "Put your sword down, Sonya. It is monsters you fear. Or is it monsters you fear or me?" He says, "I fear no man, Cimmerian. If you come one step closer with that glint of lust in your eyes, I'll spit you like a fatted calf." And Conan's like, "Hold your blade, woman. I've no need to force my attentions on any women." And she goes, "Is that so?" He's like, "There are plenty of women willing to share a bed with me, but no other I'd rather have by my side in a fight." So he's acknowledging her worth as a warrior and as a comrade in arms. And, you know, and that's something that means quite a bit to Sonya. And Conan's no fool. He knows how skilled she is with the blade, and he never discounts that. And he goes, "I trust you, Sonya, but I'll be cursed if I can speak of one reason why I should." She's like, "Good night, Conan of Cimmerian." He's like, "Good night, Sonya of Hyrcania." And you see a little smile on her face, and she says, "Sleep well." And we're off to the next day. So there we go. And my apologies. The nose is bothering me just a little. And we're going to have a little coffee while we're reading. All right, moving on. So you see Conan and Sonya making their way through the mountains. Just some basic shots of them moving through the hills. And then you see the innkeeper that had just told them the story with a boot on his head, squashing him into the ground. And it's the bandits that have been following Conan. And he's telling him, asking him where Conan is, or he's going to kill his family. And the poor guy, he lets him know he doesn't have a choice. It's that or his family's going to be murdered. What he doesn't know is just how bad and ruthless these people are. So after he tells him the information, this guy lops off his head and burns the village. And just brutal people. And then we head back to Conan and Red Sonja, and we see a shadowed 6-armed figure watching them. A giant of a figure, too. And they're trying to make their way through. And when Sonja notices the creature, she screams out, "Tarim's blood," which is one of her curses. And then we get the creature in all its glory. A great drawing by Gary Quapes and Ernie Chan. And Sonja is just shocked right now. She's like, "But Ehrlich, what is this horror?" And Conan's coming to the realization. He's like, "It can only be the devil cursed son of the punished ones. Curse my eyes. The story was true." And then the attack is upon him. The creature attacks them. He overturns their horse, kills their steeds. And we get a couple pages of just a brutal battle. And Conan and Sonja barely surviving the creature. And they finally are able to escape and take refuge inside a small cave that the creature can't fit through the entrance. And while they're in there, Sonja's like, "So how long do you think the monster can wait for us to exit this bolt hole?" And Conan's like, "Perhaps forever." He goes, "The thing is stupid. It can wait for an age without becoming bored." And Sonja says, "Hard to believe that something so ugly was born from a woman." And Conan says, "A powerful curse must rest on this land, and so powerful that it twists all that live here." And then it's like several hours later, and Conan awakens Sonja because he can hear fighting and scuffling outside. All right, and outside, the people that are been following, the villains that have been following Conan are being accosted by this creature. And it's got a few of them, it's killing them, but they're fighting it off. And Conan says, "We need to use this as a distraction and run into the temple." And they do get into the temple. And we're left to wonder what they're going to find next. And this is while the creature is battling the people pursuing Conan. And then him and Sonja turn a corner once they get a little deeper in the temple. And they see this great altar, this statue of an eldritch god. And in one of its hands is a glowing idol. And Conan knows that that's what his quest is for. This cursed idol. And the medallion is supposed to protect him from its vile magics. But as they start across the bridge, there's one bridge across, a stone one, and there's nothing on the sides, and there's lava below. So it's treacherous already. Whew, could not get that word out. Treacherous. All right, there we go. All right, and so the band that was pursuing him and chased off the creature, and they burst in. Because he thought that demon spawn would sway us from our hunt. We chase it off with mortal wounds or luxury we will not afford you. And their leader says, slay them. And Conan's response is, count the dead, Crom. I send you dinner guests this night. And he says, what say you, she-devil? And she says, I say that this Moor, it has cornered a pair of tigers. And the battle ensues. And as they're fighting, people are getting pitched into the lava. And their main guy takes off for the idol while everyone else is busy battling. Now, Conan and Red Sonja are still on there, and this guy prized the idol from his altar while they're fighting on the stone bridge. Sonja is fighting the giant that came with the bandits, the guy in the mask that is trying to kill them, and Conan's fighting the giant creature. And things are looking quite dire for our barbaric duo, but we know they're survivors. Sonja says, Cimmerian, let us see if we can acquaint our foes. And they kind of keep backing them towards each other. And when the one giant swings, Sonja ducks it, and it brains the big creature who turns around to attack. Is like, kill, and they're fighting each other. And their battle pitches them off the precipice and over the edge into the lava. Conan helps by giving him a quick boot to finish getting him over the edge, but his foot is grabbed and he's hanging on for dear life while two giants are hung on to him. Sonja bends over, puts a sword through the creature's arm that's holding Conan by the foot, and they both plunge to a fiery death. There's lots of action in the story. Great interactions between Conan and Red Sonja, and giving each one their equal due as the warriors they are. And then you see the guy on the other side after the bridges collapsed, and Sonja and Conan barely escaped without falling into the lava themselves, but they're separated from the guy who has the idol that Conan was sent after. And Conan has this box that has a medallion and stuff in it to protect them, and he just tosses it into the lava. He's like, well, I have no more use for it. He's like, let's find some horses and be away from here. And so they set off, and Conan says he's going to go with her if she doesn't mind and help her recover the children. And our heroic duo there sets off. Then with our final page of the story, we see that Conan dodged a bullet there, because we see the guy that won the idol, and he barely makes it anywhere as he breaks out, bleeding from every part of his body, crumples, and dies in the snow with the idol. For the thing was indeed cursed with evil, and it wasted no time in killing him and taking his life. It says, several days later, a fire burns in Hain's guts. A fire no amount of water will quench. He's been bleeding from every pore for a day now. He falls one last time. He does not rise again. So Conan avoided that fate, and just a fun story. A lot of savage action, a lot of brutality, showing the harshness of the world Conan lives in. Like those guys burning the village for no reason. They knew where Conan was going. All they had to do was leave these poor people behind, and still they kill them. And it sets up the world really well. It shows the savagery which surrounds him, which makes you understand why Conan acts the way he acts sometimes, because it's kill or be killed most of the time. But him and Sonja are always a fun pair, and the stories are always a little bit better when the two of them are teamed up together. They have great back and forth interplay like two friends do when they're just picking on each other constantly. and just taking shots. But both of them have a fighter and warrior's respect for each other, and they would, if they had their choice, fight side by side with the other warrior in any heated battle. They know they can trust each other. They both know they have the skills. We're going to give this story an A. It's fun. It's brisk. The pacing is fantastic. We're going to give the art's an A. The inking's an A. The conclusion is an A. I just really like this. Like I said, I've read it twice in the last couple of months again. Just revisited it, and A all around. Great story. And as I'm talking, I hope I'm putting up some portfolio pics that they left in the back. Just some fun pieces of art. But that's it for today, guys. Until next time, keep it casual. Attention all, use channel sponsor Rogue Trader at theroguetraderutah.com and my code KEEPITCASUAL for 10% off your comic cleaning and pressing needs. Remember, when submitting your books to be graded, use a trusted professional.